Today's webinar is aimed at business leaders responsible for shaping and guiding the digital roadmap of their organizations. In this session, we will explore how the CCS team can provide insights and strategies to help integrate generative AI into achieving business objectives for business leaders. For those joining us from the developer community, we believe you will find this equally engaging. While we will address questions related specifically to the webinar's focus at the end, any additional relevant questions will be taken offline for more detailed discussions. We are pleased to have two distinguished speakers with us today, Sridhar Vasudevan, Vice President of Application Services Practices at CCS Technologies, who will address the business and delivery perspective, and Shyam Krishnan Balachandran, Director of Technology and Consulting, who will delve into the technical details. Here is what we have lined up for you. How generative AI is being used for application development, its impact on cost, time, and reliability in enterprise software, creating a competitive edge by balancing bespoke and off-the-shelf solutions, navigating the complexities and ethical challenges of AI integration, and expert insights from successful implementations. Let's begin. Over the past decade, enterprises have gravitated towards on-the-shelf solutions. However, with the advent of Gen AI, what shifts are we seeing now? Sridhar, over to you.
Thanks, Sonali. Thanks for the introductions, and thank you everyone for joining this webinar today. Hopefully, we will be able to share some very useful information for all of you today. And going back to the question that Sonali just asked me, so let me start with saying, Sonali, there have been phenomenal changes, right? That's happening every quarter in the last couple of years, specifically from the AI front. And it's much more public now, right, than what it was in 2020, 2021. I think 23, 24, I think a lot more changes are being seen by everyone, not just the developer community, not just enterprises, but even the general public. But in this webinar, we'll focus a lot more from a business perspective, right? So we'll talk about new software products that have been leveraging, right? So AI, a lot of products have been emerging in the recent past. Very specialized one and some generic ones. Decision makers are now faced with a new choice of evaluating ways to move away from licensed software products that kind of limits them in many ways. Now, again, we can't just move away from off-the-shelf products for everything and anything, but there have been areas where many times the choices were there, but probably the gaps were too much, right? So the gaps are narrowing down now. Here we see a choice for them to build something that they want, yet at a lower cost than before, lesser time than before, and of course, without having to worry too much on the quality aspects. Now, this evolution of being able to also address the quality aspects, I think now has emerged a bit more mature in the last few quarters. I don't think that was as much probably in the early 2023 and all. I believe now that's matured a lot. Business leaders now are also in a position to take up challenging timelines for implementing their digital transformation milestones without really having to settle for off-the-shelf products that might actually not be a best fit, right? So now best fit really matters in their decision making, and sometimes they had to compromise a bit earlier. Now I think that is now changing. So Sonali, as we are seeing some of our own customers reach out to us with some very interesting goals that they would have been considered high risk earlier, with the kind of budget and timelines they have sometimes have, right? So now that is changing, Sonali.
Oh, that's really interesting. So in essence, Gen AI is making bespoke development more competitive. Shyam, could you explain how Gen AI is driving this change?
Yeah, thank you, Sonali, and thanks everyone for joining in this conversation. So before I get to your question about the technology development, I think I'll state some context which might be relevant for my developer friends around here as well. So when an organization initiates a bespoke development project, they want the team to focus on the unique business needs of the product and come up with the best possible solution for it. And that's usually what they try to do. However, as engineers, we know that, when we get into solving the problems, we get distracted by the lower levels algorithms that we have to take care of, and also get trapped in the code syntax and semantics correctness, which usually stretches our time for implementation, right? And what generative AI is bringing in now with this large language model, AI models, is that they can automate key parts of software development, especially code generation. There are AI models which can now generate code snippets from a developer's problem prompt, natural language program prompt within seconds. And even there are tools which can convert UI designs, which usually used to take developer a lot of time to convert into front end and mobile code. There are tools which can convert that in a matter of seconds. So what this allows developers to focus uh, more on fulfilling the unique needs of the product rather than taking care of the lower level algorithms or worrying about code syntax or semantics. I mean, uh, Sridhar mentioned about 2021, 2022, ChatGPT was launched and everybody was using ChatGPT as the most popular AI tool. But nowadays, I think Sridhar rightly mentioned there are a variety of tools that developers can use that can be plugged into their favorite IDEs. Tools like GitHub Copilot to Tab9. Amazon has their own product called Q. So what this allows is this shift in developer activity allows them to focus more on the business outcome of the product that they're building and kind of accelerates their output. In short, Sonali, what I'm saying is like the result that the enterprises can see is that they will have quicker delivery cycles, which allows developers to spend more time on making sure that they keep the software that they're building highly custom to the business needs.
Yeah. Right, Sham. So now, while AI driven automation streamlines development, enabling faster delivery and more customized software, it also allows teams to focus on high impact tasks. So, Sridhar, how does AI's ability to speed up processes while maintaining the flexibility leads to better business outcomes for enterprises? Could you explain how this translates into quicker time to market and ability to adapt for to changing business needs?
Sure, Sonali, that's a really good question. At early stage of this conversation, we were talking about how AI has helped, but let's get a bit more specific for enterprises, right? Um, Quicker turnaround time, helping them to adapt to business changes faster. I think that's the focus of what we'll be talking the next few minutes. Say you're rolling out a new customer experience platform. You can now customize a large portion of the user stories. We call them user stories in terms of how the requirements are managed in weeks and probably not in months. Earlier, we used to spend a lot more time in that part. Based on the real time needs, we can now adapt a lot more quicker. This business agility, right? The business agility that's now rising because of this advantage that we have gives the enterprises a competitive edge. And because AI does a lot of the heavy lifting, it also kind of now reduces the long-term development costs. Now, again, it's not a very easy journey, quick. You just get in and then you start reaping them. There are a certain methodologies and also skilling that we need to. We'll cover that as we talk further. We've been working with the customer. Let's say, for example, in this conversation, we'll talk about a logistics space we were working with the customer. They wanted to take their mobile platform to market with various customers. Okay. Traditionally, the front end development would have taken several iterations for us before we reach some perfection. So while using some of the mature AI products now that we have, what we were able to get is a lot faster. Uh, like we were able to get to customer satisfaction levels probably like twice as faster. Of course, there is a cost to the tool. So you're not going to say that we're going to save as much on cost. There is a cost to the tool. There's a bit of skilling. We use the right people and all that, right? So there is a marginal saving in terms of cost and phenomenal saving in terms of time. I think time is going to be very important in terms of what we gain at this point, Sonali, right? And I think that probably is what we see as the immediate change that's coming up in the market.
Speaking of innovation, let's switch gears to product companies. Sham, how does generative AI help them innovate faster?
Oh, yeah. Product companies is going to have a lot of fun because I think product companies is not alien to AI, the term AI. I mean, major investment has been going on across the product market, trying to find out what AI features that can bring to their product. But in my opinion, product companies are going to benefit more from this shift in developer activity because it is always key for a product company to run on a lean and efficient development team and maximize their output. The more things in the development cycle that AI can take care of, that frees up developer time. It helps the developer team to brainstorm, innovate, and involve in higher level problem solving at the product level. For example, there are tools available in the beta stage right now which can write unit test cases, which can write CI/CD pipeline scripts, and even manage product installation scripts. All this is going to reduce a lot of manual intervention from the development team, the product development team. Another key thing in the product space is that there's a term called technical debt, which I think all product managers like to use often, and product owners kind of hate it because technical debt means it always results in developers' time being going into analyzing the code, identifying the debt, and refactoring or even rewriting code in certain cases for performance or for efficiency. Right now, all these AI models that are coming, they can refactor, not, I shouldn't say refactor, but optimize the code and even recommend refactoring, which minimizes technical debt to an extent right at the root, and also have a significant impact on developer productivity. Another area I think on the product side is product documentation, which usually bogs down release of new features for product, and then product managers in the call can relate to that. A new feature is ready from the developer side, but the documentation is lacking. So the user training and all those things lacks. So now there are tools like Deoxygen, which can actually analyze the code and generate user documentation, saving turnaround time for new features significantly for a product company. So all in all, products companies stand to benefit a lot from a development team which uses AI tools effectively to make its operations lean and efficient with faster iteration cycles. Product companies, in my opinion, could adopt a two-way strategy, which use AI tools to speed up a development team and iterations, as well as enable AI features into their products because they're already investing in it. Sonali, you might have already seen some of the AI features in action in the products that we use internally as well.
Yes, it has streamlined processes and enhanced capabilities. That sounds like a significant advantage for product companies. How do startups fit in this picture, Sridhar? Can they also leverage Gen AI to boost their development efforts and keep pace with evolving demands?
Absolutely. In fact, you look at whatever Sham was saying earlier, I think almost all of that, in terms of tools, in terms of the benefits that we talked about, certainly do cascade down to startups as well. But the way in which startups are going to be benefiting, they have a different challenge, right? The challenge for them is they need to do a lot more in less time, fewer resources. Of course, a lot of enterprises are also acting up like startups nowadays because there are a lot of enterprising people within enterprises who basically want to do startup models of, let's say, new business ideas, right? So this could probably be the same for both entirely new startups or probably great innovative ideas that need a startup culture within a large enterprise as well. Look at how Gen AI is actually leveling the playing field is that it allows them to create unique scalable products, right? Again, without having to have large development teams. That's the first main thing for them. This also means they can have, like, they can probably pivot faster, respond to market needs, demands quicker, right? And scale up without incurring huge costs. Let me take an example of what we did recently. One of the web-based platforms, we were actually working with a startup for quite some time, and it's been probably like some time when the AI products were probably not mature in the market at that time. And then as we moved on and we saw that um, this customer should not be left behind without having to benefit from that. So we tried to pick up certain areas, and we started using Gen AI into specific areas. We started piloting, and some areas like we use GitHub Copilot and several other tools as well for the front end. And we observed, started seeing significant benefits in specific areas. So we don't need to wait for a new project to start. We don't need to have a new startup to evolve to be able to implement it. You can plug it in as and when you need. And I think that's the benefit that we are seeing. Similar gains we are also seeing, Sonali, in the test case preparation, not just in the development alone, test case preparation, review processes. And I think that's something impressive over the period of time.
So, given the profound impact on cost and time, particularly in reducing errors and rework, how do you see generative AI making a difference for companies, enterprises, or even software product companies when it comes to enhancing efficiency and accelerating delivery? Can you share specific examples that highlight these benefits, Sridhar?
Yeah, sure, Sonali. While kind of initially companies struggle to understand a lot of suitable products, right? So what's suitable for one may not be suitable for another company or for a specific project. So narrowing down on suitable tools, figuring out the licensing around it, some of them are evolving as well. What we saw as very promising products in the market 6 months to 1 year back, they were in beta stage. And now they are mature products, well accepted. Developer community loves it. So there's a evolving trend over there. So there's a learning curve as well. And what we need to see is there are long-term significant gains, but there's a bit of learning over there. The immediate effect that we noticed in terms of fewer errors and lesser rework, I think that's the early start, right? And that's what makes people interested. Okay, let me start investing in this. And then you scale up the velocity of work getting done without increasing as much on the human headcount. Then people start realizing, okay, this has been worth it, right? We developed a gamified marketing campaign enabler solution quite recently. And fortunately, this was much after the tools were available in the market. So we could start using it from early on in the whole project lifecycle. The project required, of course, cloud native development, serverless architecture, designed to handle large user bases, being able to scale up very quickly after launch. All of this were the needs. But then what really changed for us was with the availability of generative AI tools and our team being able to work on it with a reasonable confidence, right? Because they've gone through a lot of cycles of having tried it out under various pilot projects and all that. We were actually able to use it in various places in the overall life cycle, including code generation, test automation creation, right? And test case creation. We achieved faster turnaround time, but the most significant was not about just the turnaround time, the confidence with which we could tell our customer, hey, we are there, we're going to get this done, and this is really going to work. And the team was able to get that really confidently. We were able to hit it right on target, right? So this confidence that it brings alongside the time and cost is very important, mainly because the quality aspects are taken care of, right? This approach kind of probably we made significant time reductions and significant improvements in terms of performance, because performance reliability that we are able to bring in, because the code has been assisted by AI as well. That makes a lot of difference for the testers as well, because they know that there are certain places where they probably know the vulnerabilities are much lesser now, right? What we see, Sonali, is that by integrating generative AI into the development process, we were actually being able to take calculated risks and on delivery timelines without compromising on quality or on scalability.
And that's an interesting point. With these improved savings and agility, how do we ensure that quality and reliability are maintained during development, especially when leveraging AI generated code? Sham?
Yeah, I think Sridhar already touched upon the quality part, but I'll just give a slightly different view. So code generation is something that developers have been using since all times. I mean, I've been using IBM's tools for generating code which is mostly the skeleton code. But the biggest or advancement I would say in the last few years that has happened is that these code generation models like OpenAI's Cortex or whether it's GitHub Copilot, they're all pre-trained on large code bases, publicly available code bases. And this continuous and reinforced learning has had these models to suggest code snippets which are systematically and syntactically and semantically correct, offering efficient solutions which are like following all the proper design patterns. Usually, this requires a vast levels of experience and a practice for a human to follow. It's it's took takes like 5 years of human experience to bring out code which is that efficient and following those best practices. But even though these tools are available and these tools are well trained, it's still key to continue and follow all our quality check and quality assurance practices to make sure that code quality is still intact. It is also key to research and identify that the right tools with the right training is used to ensure the quality of the delivery output. Another interesting capability that these models have added to the arsenal is context awareness, which is like the AI models can understand surrounding code context so that the generated code aligns with the existing project structures, styles, and conventions. And they prioritize providing matter patterns which matches with the current context, improving the consistency of the code. So traditionally, I think even though we have been proposing the usage of AI models, all the testing practices that we have been using for manual coding, which is the load testing and the security testing cycles, they are still to be followed that we have so that we can ensure code reliability and performance for the code that is even though generated by AI models. So Sonali, what I would say is like on adopting AI-driven development, we still have to keep up with the same testing and the quality assurance strategies that we have been using because there are going to be few challenges.
So, while AI appears to be meeting many of our needs, what challenges should we consider? Sham, what technical hurdles or ethical concerns should we be aware of, and how can we address them effectively?
Yeah, I think I just ended the last question with the mention of challenges, right? So there are a few challenges. One challenge is one major challenge that everybody would have noticed by now is the accuracy of the AI generated code. Because even when we were trying and testing out our tools and the models that we are using right now, we also saw that in certain cases, in generic cases, the output is pretty much accurate because the AI model is trained to do that. But when you go to very specific use cases, the output needs to be validated by a human and it has to be checked for accuracy because all these code generation AI models, they're also susceptible to hallucinations and errors, just like any other AI models that we have been using for image detection or other use cases, right? So it is still very much recommended to follow rigorous testing practices and code analysis and review techniques that we have been using for human generated code for the AI generated code as well. Then there is an issue of data privacy and security, which the AI models must comply to some of the regulations that are out there, like GDPR or HIPAA or any of those that is coming out from the government mandates. From an ethical standpoint, what I would point out is there is always a risk of over reliance on AI that might result in atrophy. And so it's always better to ensure there is a balanced approach between automation and human creativity, Sonali.
Well, that's a great point there. As enterprises formulate their AI strategies, what key areas should they focus on first when integrating AI into custom development? Sridhar?
Yeah, sure, Sonali. I think what Sham was speaking about a bit earlier, I think that's got a lot of relevance as we talk further today, particularly about the challenges that we face or the expectations that suddenly change from developers, right? So when we start forming AI strategies, one of the common mistakes that many organizations might start thinking is, oh, okay, AI is there to code for me, so things drastically change overnight. No, there's a lot of adaptation that's required, learning curve that's required. In fact, we had our own challenges in terms of um, having, we tried it out, though we didn't jump in all by overnight. We knew that there were going to be significant gains. We wanted to experiment. So we tried out few things. And some of what I'm going to share today are probably like takeaways based on what we learned down the line. And there's no single strategy that will fit all organizations. So whatever I'm saying now is more of a generic guideline, which we could use. There will be more specific ones that we'll have to work with each of the organizations that need this to be implemented. We'll be more than happy to do that. But for the generic guidelines, I would say um, maybe three key points that I would like to bring forth over here. Identify high impact, low risk use cases. That's the first and foremost. Start very small. Don't try to bring in big changes. Don't try to make major changes to your entire systems. Where organizations, enterprises should begin is by identifying specific areas where AI can bring immediate value. So how do we do that? We go about identifying pilot projects. Pick a small, manageable pilot project where success can be easily measured. For instance, what we did was automated part of an application's front-end development, right? Measurable. We know how much time it would take manually, and we started trying to compare it with what we were gaining in terms of the automation that we get when we use AI tools over here. Once we start seeing some early wins, it becomes easier for organization leaders to make further investments and commitments in that direction. So the second key thing that I believe would fit for a lot of organizations is to build AI ready teams. Then there's a uh, thing about the learning curve, the time that's required, investments that's required. Will all organizations want to do that? Is it the core business for them? No. Software services companies are there to take care of that workload. I don't think companies which are enterprises with a business in a certain industry, let it be logistics, let it be healthcare, let it be insurance, or any of the industries, I don't think they should be wasting time on this. They should be probably looking at organizations like ServiceNow, like CCS, where we have already invested time. We have uh, teams which could probably get onboarded like pod teams, right? AI ready pod teams. And they come with the right kind of knowledge, methodologies, tools. And of course, we just can't put a team and then they start working on it. There has to be a cross-functional collaboration. So we need to make sure that these teams are being able to connect to the business goals, right? So there's going to be a certain methodology to make sure that fitment is done, right? So these are two key guidelines. And then the third one, of course, is to make sure, irrespective of how you go about it, independently with your own teams or leverage teams like CCS, what you need to do third, which is most important, is to measure your ROI early and continuously. Um, Track your success, start measuring the impact of AI on development as soon as possible, right? Metrics like reduced development cycles, cost savings, improved product quality, these should be tracked to demonstrate the value of AI. And we actually went on to compare our own estimates from past and present to specific areas. Like, for instance, I was talking about front end. We knew how much time it had taken for a specific number of screens in a specific project. We tried to do a pilot project internally to try and see how it's going to be if we're going to use certain AI tools which are maturing in the market. And so we were able to measure and compare the success as well. So as we moved on, we also saw some of the tools that were possibly the best 1 year back, probably not the best today, right? And some which were probably in beta or beta stage around 6 months back are probably now really showing success. So we got to keep refining our results as well and keep on track with what's happening in the market. So these were AI adoption refinement strategies that we had to keep working on. I think the team configurations also keep changing because as we were talking about a bit earlier about what Sham said, connecting back to how the team adapts, right? So one of the major challenges was don't try and bring in somebody who's entirely new to software development and think that AI is going to help. So there is a certain level of rigor, there's a certain level of expertise that they need to be able to bring in and then add AI on top of it, you're really going to see results which you will know that the systems are going to stand up for a long time, or else you're taking bigger risks over there than the time and cost savings that you're going to see immediately, right? That's where Sonali we are. Yeah.
Yeah, great insights, Sridhar. How do you think, Sham, product companies can best collaborate with service providers like us, leveraging GenAI to accelerate innovation and streamline development process?
Great question. Great question, Sonali. So, what I would say is generative AI is still an evolving field of technology. What we see right now is just things opening up on our side. So there is a lot of time that has to be spent to keeping up to date with the technology trends and the developments that are happening, and a lot of R&D time to understand the pros and cons of each technique or tool that we're going to use. Those are all keys to success. And we, like Sridhar mentioned, have done that at CCS. We have already done some of that research work and is already committed to building a AI-ready port teams, which can navigate our customer better through this array of products that are available in the market. So if you ask me or any company who are wanting to work with a service provider who have been into this AI-driven development, they can first tap into this expertise and the AI skills that the service provider have already built, accelerating the product lifecycle right from the get-go. Instead of trying to build everything from scratch, they can rely on these partners to do all this, take all these benefits of rapid prototyping, quicker time to market, and build their AI-driven solutions. Secondly, the service companies are investing a lot of time and effort to keep up to date with the technology developments, and these continuous refinements of skills is there. Continuous lookout for AI tools that can generate code or fit into any part of the development lifecycle. It's there. This frees up product companies or even enterprises to focus on their strategy, their roadmap, their sales and marketing, and their presence, knowing that all this technology heavy lifting or the technical heavy lifting is handled efficiently by the service providers like us.
Thank you, Sridhar and Sham. As we approach the end of our session, let's take a moment to open the floor for any questions from the audience. We would also appreciate hearing your feedback on today's webinar. A feedback form is being shared in the chat. Your insights will help us improve future sessions and stay connected with you. Let's take our first question. Are there any geographic specific trends seen at this point of time? Sridhar.
Yeah, Sonali, it's very early stage. So whatever we have seen, heard, probably are early adoptions. Okay. So, but I think I'll try to share some insights based on what we see on the early adoptions. The earliest adoptions, of course, were a lot more in the US and European regions, but in the recent past, we see a lot in the Asian subcontinent as well. A large portion of the developer community significantly present in the Asian subcontinent. I see that adoption from the developer community is huge. And naturally, the service companies a lot more concentrated in these regions are also helping that. But moving away from the developer community or the service organization, look at enterprises. We see that in the recent past, we've been hearing statistical reports from various forums that say that more than 90% of the C-level executives are planning to increase their AI-related spending in 2024, irrespective of whatever industry or vertical they are into, right? And very interestingly, we were looking at some articles that were in the UAE market, and we were seeing like they have launched a comprehensive guide on generative AI, and which is aimed to support the adoption of technology across sectors like education, healthcare, transportation. In fact, there's a guide which is part of the UAE's broader national AI strategy 2031, which kind of outlines 100 practical applications of generative AI as a natural language processing, image synthesis, automated content creation. It's amazing that an organized effort is being made at national levels. It's not just at industry levels, right? That's the kind of early adoption trends that we are seeing. I was just giving an example of UAE, but there are a lot more specialized efforts happening, and we see that options are spreading a lot more rapidly in the last few quarters.
Right. Can you share some of the learnings from the journey you have had with CCS, Sridhar Sham?
Sure, let me take the first part. I'm surely wanting to have Sham as well because there's a lot of technology related stuff that we have done at CCS. I'm sure Sham will also follow through on that. So initially, we went around trying out tools that we heard about at random, to be honest, right? In the very early stages. A lot of excitement among the developer community within our organization. We barely could contain them. They were going around trying out various tools. Sometimes these were specialized products, and sometimes these were generic code generation ones. We were all certain that each of these were great. Some of them are evolving, but we needed a list of authorized tools for our organization. Unless and otherwise these are approved tools, we do not bring them into any of our development life cycles, right? So we had to have reasons as to why we picked few of these tools versus others, cost implications, measurable benefits, etc. Right? And so we took a very measured approach. We took this up as one of our OKRs. We have something called OKRs at the leadership level, and we identified a whole list of tools over a period of time, curated them based on various parameters. At a practice level, we picked up the ones that were best suited for the business that we were in, right? Of course, it could be different for some other organization, and what we believed would help our customers achieve maximum benefits. So we have a view of our customer accounts, what is their ecosystem, and we know the pipeline that we're working on, the kind of customers that we're targeting. So we curated the tools and the learning exercise among our own developer community based on that. This gave rise to our next stage in terms of implementation learnings, which we are now happy to impart and implement for benefit of our entire clientele, Sonali.
Sham?
Yeah, I think I'll invite Sham to take over
Yeah.
on the technology side. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I'm not sure if I'm gonna speak on the technology side much, but what I have is more of a like a philosophical learning, and I
Sure.
would say is IT has always been a knowledge industry. So back in 2010 and all, DevOps was and continuous deployment was one of the key factor in improving development lifecycle, even product iterations. Much of the same things that we talk about right now about Gen AI. But what that cost is, that cost an array of tools were created across the market. There were hype cycles. There were some hastily made decisions from certain companies, and certain companies have invested into new divisions for DevOps alone to figure out, which tool to pick up from this ocean of tools that are out there. So AI-based development tools market, that it's almost around that same corner right now. And what one of the major learning that I would say, completely non-technical, even though unexpected from me, is that this is not a change that can be managed as a silo. That's what our biggest learning was, because there are tools that are already showing that they can bring a layer of agility across the development operations and showing long-term gains for the organization. So the awareness of the AI capabilities and the AI-ready tools has to be something that has to be managed as an organizational culture across the board. Sonali, that would be the one point I would want to bring together.
Right. So we have received a few questions from our audience here. The first question is from Wilden. He wants to know what key personal AI competencies should a company have, irrespective of you outsource the AI development to a company like yours. So like us, yeah.
Okay. I think I'll take some part of the question, and probably Sham could also jump in. I think we were talking about uh, identifying uh, small pieces which are measurable, right? So I think that's the part you need to do. Let's not focus much on AI at all, right? Let's focus on what are the areas where you think your business should benefit, where you believe things aren't fast enough, where you probably aren't gaining on your business, or you're probably losing out to competition, right? So let's identify some of those and probably then work along with you to identify some of these competencies that will help through the AI development that's already available, right? So maybe parts of that you can outsource, but then there's going to be a key identification in terms of which of the business use cases we need to. I think that there's nobody else who's going to be better than yourself to identify, though we can help you in that process as well. Sham, if you would like to add anything further.
Yeah, I would just bring another aspect or another perspective on it in terms of like, what we were talking about in this webinar is squarely about tools that we are using in the development lifecycle to, quicken the product iterations, make sure we ship the products and features faster to the market. That was our core focus of the topic. But I think Wilden's question is more about like, if the development is already outsourced to a company like ours, what are the other AI competencies? So as a business that I mentioned during my answer about the product companies, as a business, there might be features, AI features that you want to bring into your product. There might be AI enablements that you want to offer your customers. Those are some things that as a company, as a business, you might have to do a bit of research on. I don't know if there is a key competency or a personal that I can mention, but and a general AI awareness about around the business and the business workflows is definitely something that that as a business you can build. For our customers, we are also having a building that within our consultancy practice as well, our architects as well as our business analysts also are aware of the AI capabilities, the technical capabilities that AI products are bringing, which we kind of pass it on to our customers as well, saying that, this is something that you can probably try on, and this is some workflow that you probably can use an AI use case or an AI feature or an AI enablement on top of it. So those kind of competencies is something that I would recommend you can build as a footnote to what Sridhar mentioned.
Right. We have another question from Julian. Over the last 10 years, the cost of computing to a business has risen steadily. With the promises that are coming out of AI, businesses will expect the cost to start to decrease. How do you see this?
I think we should take this in two parts. One is the question is on cost of computing, right? And while we were trying to focus all our energies in this webinar speaking about the development side, the computing is more from, okay, how at runtime we're going to bring down the costs, right? At runtime when the applications are. So probably what I would say is with much more energy efficient source code that's being generated with the assistance of AI, lesser vulnerabilities. Yes, certainly there is going to be an impact, positive impact in terms of lesser costs on computing. But is it going to happen overnight? Absolutely no. But there's going to be a steady decrease in the cost over a period of time. But then there's also a flip side to it. As we start seeing that the benefits are, we are going to be using a lot more of software, a lot more in terms of scaling up applications. So that will certainly have its own cost. But compared to what you were getting earlier, you are certainly going to see some benefits. Sham, would you like to add anything more there?
Yeah, I would say is like cost to build software, we certainly see an impact, right? We already talked about in this webinar that cost to build software is definitely coming down. Cost to run software, like Sridhar mentioned, maybe we can see it's all superficial at this point because we are saying that we will get a better code which uses lesser memory or lesser requirements, system requirements. Those are all superficial at this point. So cost to run, we are not really seeing any, I shouldn't say we are not really seeing any benefits, or nor I should say that we might not save at all. So cost to run applications is still something that's up for discussion, up for research. Cost to build is definitely we are seeing, and we are already communicated some of those savings that we have already seen in our current projects. Hope that
Right.
answers your question. Julian.
Right. Thank you, Shyam. Thank you, Sridhar. There's another question from Anthony. Anthony Starwin. He wants to know Gen AI is compatible with all front end frameworks, something like Angular. Is it compatible?
Okay, for the
Yeah.
example, I would say yes, it's getting there. But for compatibility on all front-end frameworks, no, not there yet. But I think a lot of companies are investing in that direction. And so you're seeing uh, plenty of tools coming up. Of course, it's going to be some more wait time. We have seen some benefits in terms of mobile development using Flutter. Some mature products are there in the market. We are seeing some tools that are evolving in terms of converting code from things like Figma to front end using Angular or React. But are we there at to the level that we really want it? Comparable to our expert developers, probably there are some gaps. I think the gaps are narrowing down every quarter. I think the tools are making amazing progress there. But yes, there is some more time to go before we say, yes, it's really going to make the impact that we want. Plenty of tools, of course, but so I don't want to name any of them right now.
Yeah. So from
Uh,
a compatibility standpoint, what I would say is like, most of these code generation models support multiple languages, and that includes TypeScript and JavaScript. So it's all out there for anyone to try. Now, from a squarely compatible perspective, if you're looking for something to generate complete code bases in Angular, like Sridhar mentioned, we haven't seen a product which does that. But as I mentioned, there might be a product that is out in the market right now that might be able to do it. So as I mentioned, it's completely evolving. But there are definitely code assistants, code AI assistants which support JavaScript and TypeScript, which includes Angular code as well. Anthony.
Thank you so much. If anyone has any further questions, we will be happy to take them offline. As we conclude, Sridhar, Sham, do you have any key insights or final thoughts to share with our audience?
Sure, Sonali, I think thanks for bringing up some very good questions during this webinar. Thanks to the audience for bringing up some very uh, relevant questions to business. We're happy to answer more. We've all seen in the last 30, 40 minutes that how generative AI is becoming a game changer. We probably saw organizations gaining 1, 2, 3% in terms of gains in a project, and that was something awesome, right? If you're talking about 2016, 17, 18, up to 20, I think people are talking about 1% gains, 2% gains, tuning, and that was awesome. Now we're talking about bigger numbers, but it cannot be said all across a development lifecycle. Front end could have a different percentage in a certain technology. Back end could have a different percentage in a certain technology, depending on the tools that you choose and depending on where you want to bring in the tools at what point of time, right? So the right places to adopt and having the right team will make this change beneficial from very early on. So we at CCS are very excited to help our customers benefit from the expertise we have built in embracing this change. We have a core team that will be available to work closely with our customers, all the way from helping them to identify suitable use cases, areas where they'll be able to see measurable benefits in a short time. We will also, Sonali, follow through in helping them with the AI ready pod team to accelerate the adoption process. Shyam, maybe you could
Yeah.
add from your
Right.
side as well. Yeah.
Thanks for joining in, everyone, first of all, and thanks for listening in. I was to bring the technology side of things over here, and I hope I did a good job with that. So on the technology side, I would say is things are still very much evolving, as I mentioned earlier as well. We have already gone through over the hype cycle of AI tools and ChatGPT and all people wowed by them. Now we are talking about real world usage of AI into enterprise use cases and including SDLC. And as you have heard here, we have found that AI can reduce development time while keeping the solution highly personalized and scalable for the enterprise needs. What can leave with is that we got introduced to AI assistants and the imaginative possibility of it. when Tony Stark asked his virtual assistant Jarvis to create a working model of an arc reactor while he went off to sleep. And even if it is not to that extent, I think it's going to be a very exciting time to be in software development for the developer community.
Thank you. We also have our Director of International Business and Marketing, Anoop George, who is based in UAE with us today. Anoop, would you like to share your final thoughts?
Thank you, Sonali. Thanks, Sridhar Cham, for a truly insightful session, right? So good questions as well from our participants. I think it's clear that AI adoption is no longer a choice, but a necessity, right? So the key question is only at what stage or to what extent should AI be adopted? Like Sridhar Cham mentioned, maybe starting with the high impact, low risk use cases could be a good way to go. And again, largely depending on the SDLC or the digital journey maturity, right? Of the organization, of the industry, because each journey could be different as what we have seen. And again, while the benefits are undeniable, we must not overlook the challenges, including ethical consideration. What we have also found is that there is a clear need for a structured process, right, to guide AI adoption effectively, right? We'll definitely be sharing more information soon and are excited to stay connected with all of you moving forward. Thank you all for joining. Back to you, Sonali.
Thank you, Anoop. Thank you all for your valuable insights, and thank you to everyone for participating today. For those interested in a more personalized conversation, you can reach out to Anoop directly for a one on one session. We will be sharing his contact details in the chat. Wishing you all a wonderful day ahead. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you.